Hi, folks. Joe Bongiovanni here from the Kettle Pond Institute for Debt-Free Money. My friend Pete Young and I have a website at economicstability.org, and we also have a YouTube channel at user/economic stability, one word, and we're monetary reformers. And Pete and I have been advocating monetary reform on the website for a couple of years now, and we recently, fairly recently, posted a video, celebratory video, if you will, when Congressman Dennis Kucinich put in his bill called the National Emergency Employment Defense Act of 2010, because citing the tremendous growth of unemployment, of housing foreclosures, of budget deficits at federal and state, bankruptcies, financial failures and chaos, the need to reform the money system. Now, a Mr. Kaj Grusner, who has been commenting on our website, and I'm assuming that Pete's going to get this video posted on our website, um, has charged that we are avoiding the hyperinflation issue that's related to the government issuing paper money, fiat paper money. And so the purpose of this video is really to kind of draw out that discussion, because it's usually the first criticism that comes down the line as soon as you talk about restoring to the Congress and the people of this country the right to create our own money. That it's going to be inflationary. That has to be inflationary because you can't trust the government to do anything as part of it. But more than that is just the fact that there doesn't seem to be an asset behind the creation of the money. Okay, you don't really need an asset to create money. You're going to create assets when you create money. Excuse me. And so we want to continue that discussion. That's the purpose of being here. Pete and I have put out what the American Monetary Act is about. We've put out what the Kucinich bill is about. And we've explained that the bill, sees that when the government takes over the power to create money, that it does so through a monetary authority. That's basically the group that decides, given the potential growth of the economy, how much new money needs to be made available in order to enable that growth in the economy. Its job, its mandate is very specific and very limited. Well, that's all it really has to do. And it's going to come up with a number. I mean, it may be based on a percentage, but it's going to come up with a number. And that number is going to go to the Treasury and tell the Treasury that's the amount that you stick in the budget for the balances formerly known as deficits that are going to be funded by new money creation. Okay. And then that leaves to the Congress the ability to do that, 25% of which would go directly to states as grants. And we have right there the model, the example of the fact that for every dollar to grow the GDP up to its potential in the following year, there's going to be a dollar of currency created in order to enable the exchange that is needed in order for the GDP to grow. Now, the whole purpose of having the policy of the system and all of that is to maintain the stable buying power of the currency. Now, maintaining the stable buying power of the currency is, in my mind, the opposite of inflationary. Inflationary is to not maintain the buying power of the currency. So we say we need to have a federal mandate to maintain the buying power of the currency. We say we need to have a system that enables it and that legally mandates that. And then we put in place the mechanism by which that legal mandate is going to be carried out through the monetary authority. And in so doing, we feel that we have the design on inflation as best we can, given the national economy and national monetary system and the national currency. So that's why we say ours is the non-inflationary method. I'm not going to get into anything about my belief about how the Austrians system would affect us. I'm going to let Kaj do that. But I don't want to get there without addressing the issue of inflation, because inflation is the primary objection that's raised to the government issuing money. Oh, the government's going to print the money? As a colloquialism, the government's going to create the money, and the government's going to create the money by virtue of its open, accountable budgeting process. Every item that the government is going to spend the dollar on is going to be identified in the budget. The amount of money that's going to be so created, not the entire budget, but the amount that's going to be so created is going to be determined by economic factors. And we have a process for doing so. So that's my question to Kaj now. You know, we're not avoiding inflation. We're right here with inflation. We're talking inflation. We're saying that it will not be inflationary, that it cannot be inflationary. We made an earlier statement that says that there's no economic basis for saying that's the stable buying power of the currency should be the main facet of economic and monetary policy. And whereas we've explained that in the 1939 program for monetary reform, backed by over 400 economists publicly in 1939, that concept was laid out by 6 very prominent economists. And so it has an economic basis. You know, it's maybe not Austrian economically based, but it has an economic basis. And it has a mechanism there for carrying it out. So when we talk about inflation now, what do we mean? Do we mean consumer prices are going to rise? Because that's worrisome. Because basically we're all consumers. Okay, we're all consumers. And we worry about prices going up because we need to make our payments on all of our bills, and that includes our mortgages, and that includes our other debts that we have. So we worry about whether there's going to be price inflation. Okay, if it's going to be, and when I say that, the consumer goods prices, okay, the basket of consumer goods prices, that's the consumer price index. Is it going to be some other type of inflation? You know, asset inflation. If it's asset inflation, is it going to be real assets? Is it going to be financial assets? You know, how is it going? And if it is either of those, how is it going to be those? Okay, again, using the money creation mechanism that's in the bill. Okay, and if when you say inflation, what you really mean is debasement of the currency, and that is to say, what? The opposite of stable buying power. Because why? Because you say that the money will be worth less year after year after year. Then say, what is it about this process that will cause that inflation, that will cause that debasement of the currency? Say what it is that's going to drive the financial markets to lose confidence in the dollar under a system that was properly being carried out. In other words, if you're going to just say there's going to be inflation because it's not going to work, well, then, you know, that's not a discussion. If it's going to be inflation that's caused by an economic factor or a mathematic factor or some other kind of an accounting factor, then please say what that is. Because we say no inflation. That's what we say. No inflation. And we have stated on our website that the work of Dr. Kaoru Yamaguchi of Doshisha University in Japan has proven that, in fact, it would not lead to inflation over the long term, especially, and that the resort to ending fractional reserves and ending the issuance of money as a debt and resorting to full reserves would result in a non-inflationary achievement of potential GDP. So that's it, Kaj. That's my opening. I'm only here to put this out there to say, let's talk. Thanks. I do appreciate it.